Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Good evening once again, and welcome to 5.8G Alive, magazine show brought to you by Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creations of Connections 50 Plus, and with me, as usual, dear friends.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus, and special welcome to you this evening.
Good evening. I am Maureen Joanne Bowen, and I'm alongside my two great friends here, as usual, trying to fill in the blanks and keep up with the paces. So welcome this evening.
We have been on a roll from before Mother's Day and really getting into introspections, ladies. We've been having the program and we've had a string of really interesting meetups where we delve into the issues about really how we live on this third act of life. Whether it's engagement, whether it is how we see ourselves as mothers, how do we step into this new phase for which there's no guide, there's no handbook. And as we discuss those things, we realize that we ourselves need to be anchored and we ourselves need to be centered. And for many people on this stage, I think that is not news. That's not news. That is something that we've learned the hard way over the last couple of years. And how do we move forward? And we have chosen two themes that we're going to discuss today. The first theme looks at happiness, appreciation, and joy. Looking at what have we stopped doing and what do we now engage in to ensure that our lives going forward is happy, joyful, as we would want to have it. And secondly, the other part of it is being transparent, open, and vulnerable with self is not just being coy and but looking at embracing and celebrating our greatness and really knowing how great we are, where we are great, and why we are great. And we really believe that those two bookends are critical factors towards really living fully on the third act stage. So we're going to go into being in tune and having a great discussion about that. Okay. So who wants to start the discussion?
Let me say this, Terry. I remember someone saying, I like to talk about happiness because I feel that is important, especially right through life. It's important for us to seek that happiness. And I remember someone, when I was talking about this, how are you going? And I would say, I'm happy, I'm going good. And they would say, it's how you determine happiness. It may mean something different for different people and how you determine happiness. For me, when I say happiness and want to be happy, how I determine happiness, especially on this third act stage, is being able to do the things that I enjoy. So I equate happiness with joy also. You know, I'm doing those things that brings me that joy, and it means to I actually started going within and looking at what really gives me joy, because I have found what would have given me joy and made me really happy on the second stage is not the same things that given me that joy or happiness on the third stage. So I had to come to terms with that, face that reality, because and certain situations causes that situation that will cause that shift, and I would say it's a shift. So for instance, I have been very, I would say, what brought me joy and happiness and relaxed me. Like I have to get out. I like getting out and doing something. I love to socialize, and my socialization may mean going to the mall, going out with a friend, doing things like that. And I recognize that after I didn't have the transport as before, I started to feel really down and frustrated.
Mhm.
And I had to make that shift. And my shift was, let me find things that will occupy my time, that I can do, that would take me away from that feeling of having to go out. Right? And that shift has, so I am surprised as how happy I am without having to jump in a car and say, let me go and do something. I have also looked at, I like to socialize and go out with friends. I have created this space owned by me where now I still socialize and I'm happy with my friends, but they can now come into my space. Understand? So for me, happiness on the third act stage, you really have to look, see what are the things that used to make you happy on the second art stage. Is it the same? Are these things the same? You know? And you spoke about with happiness and appreciation and joy. Well, I covered the joy there. But again, where the appreciation comes in is we have to appreciate who we are. Who am I? You know? And I would answer, who am I? I am an outdoor person. I appreciate friendship. I appreciate nature. I appreciate, actually, I did a list to help me come to terms with with all the things that I want to enjoy on the stage. And I would say, if we do appreciate certain things, we can't be happy about it. So anytime we start to complain and gripe and find fault, etc., which means we're not appreciating the situation we're in, then it takes away from that happiness. So basically, that's how I would put it in, in my perspective and my situation as it is now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that this whole concept of happiness challenges me daily. Um, because people would who look at me from outside in would always say that I'm a very happy person and I'm the life of the party. And if you wanted a good laugh, invite Maureen. Maureen was the person to be around. But it was insightful because a lot of the people, the same people who I spent a lot of quality time with, inclusive of family members, they do not yet know who I am. or how I feel about many things, because nobody took the time to ask me that either, right? Because I put myself in a position of sharer, giver, fixer, healer, confidant. So, you know, and I hear people talk a lot now about pouring from an empty cup. And even that concept really doesn't make sense to me in many ways, because the thing is that if you made the decision to pour, then you had to fill your cup and pour. The problem with the decision is really about who is going to refill the cup once you had made the decision to pour. So right now, I am I have made the decision that I want to be happy, because I see happiness as a decision. But in saying that, it also means that I have to reflect on the choices and decisions that I'm going to be making moving forward, and let go of those things. Feel safe enough and confident enough to be able to let go of those things that may have brought me joy in my past season. And that's not an easy thing to do, because it means that you would have to let go of people, places, and things. And anytime I think about it, I liken it to addiction, because to me, I was just addicted to the rewards that I got from being of service to other people, and not recognizing that I was important, I am important, and that I have certain needs, and I have certain dreams, and I have certain desires that I would like to fulfill. And if that has to happen, I can't wait on somebody else to make it happen, or validate or tell me, yeah, it's okay, you go and do that. Or don't do it, because if you do, look at your age, look at what's going on with your health, look at look at the world today, all of those kinds of things. So I would like to look at happiness, and this is from my perspective, as a work in progress, and something that I'm consciously working on to benefit the quality of my life, because I have no control over the quantity. But the quality of what remains, I have to let go of previous strengths, and even weaknesses in some instances, and start nurturing, like Terry-Ann with her garden, nurturing a whole new pathway, not knowing whether it will ever bear fruit, but wanting to do the work, wanting to engage in the activity, because it's the right thing for me to do. Not whether I get approval, disapproval. I'm not even asking for approval. I'm not even putting it out there to anyone. Those people's opinions really don't influence me. That's their right and privilege to want to adjudicate if they choose to, but I have to be fortified with the knowledge and the awareness and the consciousness and the willingness and the desire and the grit, and the possibility of aloneness, not lonely, but aloneness, to be able to achieve what I am now setting out to do, which is happiness, joy, and contentment.
Yeah, yeah. It is. My mom always used to say something, and there was a time in our young people, we used to say, "What is wrong with a woman?" Yeah, so I am wonderful. I am wonderful. And she would have this smile. And you would look at her, and we know that life was not always kind. It was not always fair. It was not always good. But we also knew from looking at her and encountering her up close that she was truly wonderful in every aspect of her life. She took whatever was going on around her, and it never entered her spirit and her psyche. She dealt with it, and something crazy happened. And I remember her famously telling me, well, when people look at that situation, they're going to wonder what's wrong with that person when they look at me. And I think my mother has really shaped how I look at life and how I look at happiness. It's an inside job. It is not dependent on where I am, time, space, age, career, because I can honestly tell people that I have an imperfect life, but I am very happy, a very happy person in that life. And I think it is because I am, and I have always remembered myself being very in tune with and aware of what resonates with me. So whether it is, yeah, bad spirit come inside of here, there are certain things that I am not comfortable around and I will dispatch it immediately from me. Things like dishonesty, things like double dealing. And so my predisposition is to be internally in balance. And once I'm internally in balance, and just in case people, internally in balance, not imbalance,
Yeah.
I can be in crazy situations, crazy people, crazy things, but I don't lose my spirit. I don't lose my spirit. So my going into the third act is a transition, a stage, but the spirit continues. So I would say that I have, because I know who I am, and I will define it as a person fearfully and wonderfully made by God. You can't be that. And it doesn't matter where you put me, what you do with me, it is very difficult. I might have an emotion at the time. I might become angry. I might become this. I might become that. But I am very clear about where I am, and that is the source of my happiness. So for me, when I looked at our topic, happiness, appreciation, and joy, things that we have stopped doing and those that we now engage in to achieve the same. If something is going on and I can't see an outcome, even if it is dealing with a troubling situation, and I can't see my way to an outcome, I focus on that. I don't wallow. Because I think sometimes I remember once we talked about something, the difference between suffering and pain. All right?
Yeah.
Pain is something you endure to get out of something. Suffering is what happens when you decide to stay in it. I am not a sufferer. And I think
Yeah.
because I am always looking for that forward movement, even through painful times, I continue to be a happy person at heart. You know? So that's my view. It is not contingent on, and because I am happy, I think I'm always joyful, even in the midst of trouble, even in the midst of stress. That comes out of me. I endure pain to not suffer, if I want to use those words.
Yeah.
So, and I think suffering leads to trouble, serious unhappiness. So I really think happiness is a mental state, and it's a state that involves a lot of forward movement, no, notwithstanding what's going on in your life. And that means it's forever dynamic. And it's hard to pin it down to something or some place or some activity. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's insightful that you talk about the internal work or structure that defines the happiness, because a lot of people think that things define happiness, or that, where they live, what they have in their house, what car they drive. And I've seen a lot of unhappy people as a result of the very same things that they've worked all of their lives and acquired. What is even more challenging is the fact that those things become albatrosses as you grow older and your circle becomes smaller. And your children, I mean, like my son, he said, boy, I just open any doors and say, anybody who want whatever they want, go and take it, because I don't want none of it. And I've said, what?
Yeah.
Cherished items that I
Yeah.
have from my grandmother and my mother. He said
The
they enjoyed it
heirlooms.
and you enjoy it now. But I'm telling you, give whoever it is you want to see those things and enjoy those things, because I'm telling you, open the doors, anybody, pipers included, they're welcome to get a smoke on you. You will be remembered. When my son said that, I was like, it was a moment of showing that people's priorities are different, and what makes people happy, or quote unquote happy is also different. But even more importantly, why did I waste so much of my life acquiring all these things when I could have been doing something else, right? And that's something in the third act stage that we have to look at too. I've been saying to people, start decluttering, get your house in order, and that will bring you joy, because once you have open space and you can see where you're going and you can understand the pathway, then it will bring some clarity and some relief, as opposed to now leaving all this work for those who you leave behind. They don't want to do it. They're not interested. Um, and so when let's today in our discussions talk about happiness, not only about personal happiness, but things that we have to do because we care about not only ourselves, but we care about those people who we love and cherish and care about, and would want them to have been happy because we were in their lives and we shared their space at one point or another.
Yeah, yeah.
I also believe that to do that, we have to listen, because many of us we still live in a family situation. So you may have a
Yeah.
spouse or your a daughter, son, whoever, still living in that household with you. And you mentioned there in terms of your son, and you open the house and you tell them, just come for it. He's telling you now that he's not interested in those things. I love antiques, so my house is filled with a set of antiques. And over my journey saying, hey, you see all this clutter and all this antique, you enjoying it now. Just know there's a time that you have to get rid of it, because we wouldn't want that. Okay? And I listen, we have to listen. And as I get older, I realize really and truly that cluttering up. So yes, I did enjoy having the antiques around at the time and setting up and all kind of little teacup and little all kind of clutter. And you realize that, okay, I was really happy. It gave me joy. I liked looking at it. I like going to the garage sales and buying these things. And you reach this stage now on the third act. I just not too long ago, maybe about 2 years ago too, I put a lot of those antiques for sale. I put it up and got rid of them. It's not easy, but you have to now understand that I'm saying, hey, I'm not cleaning all these set of brass, all these things again. It don't make sense. This is a different stage of my life. My children said up front too that that's not their thing. I can't look at how much I pay for it and what, those sort of things. We
Yeah.
have to get rid of it. And I did. And after I look around, you know, it took me a little while to adjust, to say, well, okay, I no longer need these things. They're bringing me that joy anyway. Because when I look at it, I get frustrated because of studying. I can't clean it. I can't this. The where they are on the shelf is up. It's just creating problems, right? So I did get rid of it. And when I look on, I got rid of the shelves that they were all on too. So I totally agree that we need to declutter, but in doing that, we have to say, okay, are we going to be living alone, or we have others living with us? Because we have to understand if they're affected in certain ways, it will take away from our happiness and joy. So we
Yeah.
need to have that sort of discussion and make the decision again, a choice. Whether it is you say, okay, you know what, I want to live, like in my case, I downsize because I feel I have more control of my space, because I like that control of my space. I like the peace and calm and doing the things that I want to do without interference from anybody else. Right?
Yeah.
Um, so in doing that, you need to chat with family members who may have been either that you're dependent on or they dependent on you, to create that space to give you that joy and happiness. Because for me, again, we look at a choice and what we want for our lives at this time. And for me, I want that nice, calm, quiet time. I want to be able to do exactly what I want when I want. All right. And after our discussion, because as we get older, we may want to depend on them for certain things. And all that for me brings your joy and happiness. Because if you're in a space that you're not happy, because every time you move around, you're bouncing something, or the chair, the couch suddenly too low. You can't go down so low.
Yeah.
So to get up is a problem. So everything seemed to be an issue, whereas before it wasn't. So I see the importance of looking at the triggers, I would say, the I don't want to say obstacles, but the things that simple thing, and it could be very, very simple. It could be very simple, as simple as, and I remember going to a session when they said that, and I say, what, as simple as that jug of water you have in the fridge, if it can't be too heavy.
Yeah.
I reached, I reached that stage now that it
Yeah.
depended on the shelf you put it up, because it's too heavy, it could fall on you. Things that I laugh at now, right? But I had that experience helping out with my mom, and I realized I had to do certain things to make it comfortable for her.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
And that to me is hinges a lot on the choices we made, and what we term happiness and joy, you know? So, and so yes, chatting or understanding the persons who live in your space, understanding that it's different for you now, and chatting with them, I think will help into and knowing what to release, and that's something else I find many of us at this stage want to keep holding on to things, holding on, all sorts of things um that we could release and make it you know, make it a better place, a joyful space for us. So I really focus in me on space. This is the space I'm in
Yeah.
for this journey in life. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. You
Yeah.
know, it's so important to you manage your space. And I'm just looking at that second part, the things that we have stopped doing and those that we now engage in to achieve
Yeah.
happiness. And, as people will make decisions to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And they have lists. And they have, all right, stop and go and change and things like that. And I live in flow, but not flow like psychology now says flow like, in the zone. It's not
Right.
flow like zone. And again, it comes from that internal. And I have found over the past, but it started in 2021. I think it started in 2021, where I just started doing things. In 2021, I changed the infrastructure in my yard to bring gardening up to a level where I don't have to bend. So I put those things in place. And I started, people who know me know that I love good food and I love to cook. So I started investing in really solid tools to process and prepare foods. And it will be like, John, I want that. I want this. And I started to just get rid of let's say lesser tools that I had and brought more tools and invested in hostess sets. Strange things. And well, everybody knows that my new interest is going sewing. It is something that I had done before, and every now and again you sit down and you look back. Jennifer talks about her 5 years. I am going on to my 65th birthday in December, and I have a sense of, okay, you're starting the last 5 years of your 66th decade. What is it about? And as I reflect, and my reflection is a lot of silence where my prayer life gets to answer me back and say what. And I realize that I have been preparing myself for it's a simpler life, but in many respects, it's much more complex. I would say it's a truer life. It's a more real and connected and grounded life that I think has so much to do with how happy I am. So all the tools that I bought really helped me to do something that I love easier. So the gadgets are there. The gardening, and I'm reaping the benefits now, is really about what goes inside of me. I really am very serious about being nourished with good food. And all right, so I'm starting my sewing. And the other day, I was buying some books, and sometimes I don't do nothing simple. I just have to go to the end of it. So I got myself 3 books, and I am so into pattern drafting and things like that. And I am getting so excited about creating things that will touch my body. So I realize that I am in the process of creating not only the space, the times, but literally creating an environment. But it's not an environment of things per se, but it's an environment that speaks of texture and of quality and of context that will give me control of what my life is, because my life is going to be a big part of what my body can do, which is what I eat. It is going to be a big part of how I look, which is what I wear and the style that I have. And that has to balance and reflect with the spirit that is coming out of me. And you all laugh at me a lot when we are off camera. But I'm very, very clear about the kind of people that are tolerated in my zone. You know, if you're not willing to get up, go. Viewers, you need to be on before and after to know how much these two ladies control me. But it comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place, as I said before, I'm not into the suffering. I am willing to tolerate the pain to get to a better place so that life can be happy, content. And, as I look at my spaces and I'm checking myself and I'm saying, but my sons and my husband must be watching me and saying, she mad, what it is she doing? Because it's real shifts, it's real shifts. But they are also reaping the benefits of it.
Oh, yeah.
And in
Yeah.
many ways, that again speaks to my real firm belief that, what is happening in this corpus. It doesn't matter where you put me or what you put around me or how you manifest my will. Yes, I will be affected. I'll be affected in the moment at the time, but it won't
Yeah.
change me and complicate me because I'm a soul at peace, I think. And it comes out. So it's interesting to reflect and look at the things that I've been doing over the past 5, 6 years and realizing that somehow in that subconscious, and I am wondering if it has to do with just my outlook on life, that, all right, I now need to stop doing this, I want to stop. So you put the infrastructure in place so that you'll get. I don't know, that may
Yeah.
be a different take on it, but it's interesting to see that that's actively what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, and coming out from that, there are a few things. One, as you said that, it brought me to a place where I have a relative now that we're going through end of life situations with. And recently, we went to visit her. Well, it was like going through the miry clay because the
Mm.
way she presents to the world and what when we went to see what's going on inside, there was two different things. I just said I'm very happy with all these things around me. You all don't interfere with anything. When I'm gone, you can do whatever you want. And I have to be the voice of reason and say, well, listen, it's not about these things, it's really about you here. And what we're trying to figure out is do you have any death benefits? Where the insurance plan is, who we insured with. Because
Yeah.
we going into hospice care. So yeah, them kind of things. So is it that we call in a sale to help? Because you have to get in
Pay
hospice.
the bills.
And it's exactly, exactly.
Have to pay the
And
bills.
and and these are the things I sat there as somebody again, not an onlooker, but not a passive participant either, because we have, they have everybody else watching me because I'm the psychologist in the posse, and I said she was retired. So that here, all of us taking equal ownership. When she costing everybody, not just me alone. Nobody do. Over the
Mm.
years, you all get away with that come from behind the screen.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was insightful, everybody like dumbfounded because we know her so, we accept her so, I said, but there's a different dynamic. And I'm saying this to say to our viewers, listen, don't put people in those positions and call it happiness and call it love. Fix your business while you are still cognitive.
Yeah.
And also the thing is that you don't need any permission. You have to then decide on your boundaries and stick to it, and whether people agree or disagree, at the end of the day you would know that when they're advocating from a position of truth,
Yeah.
not from some random ramble that we think that we don't think nothing, the person still here. I said to her, what do you want? And she was like, Lois, well, Oli will win. And it's always you all will and you
All
all will.
year.
Wally.
shedding
Wally
responsibility,
with this and
fixing
Wally.
business.
And I'm saying, no. But I don't know if the rest of them, I can't speak for see, but, and one of the things that was insightful is that everybody, all of us who were there and who have been there supporting, but you real change, boy. I have not changed. I just finally wake up
Yeah.
and actually willing and truthfully ready to say, well, no, that don't float my boat, and I don't have to small up to fit into these rooms anymore. What it is what it is. Whether you like it or you don't, it is what it is, and what needs to be done will be done, but it will be done in accordance with the instructions from those people who have to make those decisions. It's not mine, and that brought me a sense of happiness and joy because it's a relief as well because
Yeah.
all of a sudden it fell off my shoulder.
The
Right?
burden you used to carry. You carry what you
Ex-
want to carry, and what you carry
oh,
should not be a
exactly.
burden.
Exactly.
You
And
should
this
not be
is
carrying
something
burdens.
that a lot of us have to wake up.
Yeah.
And we ought to, I don't know when, but I'm saying it loud and clear. Now is the time, according to the song. Now is the time. Yeah, now is the time. Now is the time. Because I mean, in this stage, it's difficult for me to even carry me. I find I get real heavy as a,
You
and the
need to
thing is that
lighten up. You need to be able to carry yourself and have it
because
lighten up.
nobody coming to save me, and nobody was carrying me all the time. It's now I realize, but wait a minute. It's all them thing, boy. No wonder I didn't have any time for me. How did I get it? And so it brings me for us to have this conversation about what we're gonna be giving up, and how do we see ourselves? How significant are we to us? And what are some of the things that will nourish our souls as we continue to be happy? And you say that.
Yeah, Maureen, I totally agree that these, and as I said, we have to be aware of so many things. And for me, I would say, because I am very, and I keep saying it, you see, entering the 70s was a shift for me. Moving to this other later stage of the 70s, so I'm looking at, okay, I'm very close to the 80s now
Yeah.
because I next is 75 moving on. So what you're saying there is something we have to take very seriously, but it comes, not everything comes to us. People, you're not happy or you're frustrated about something, but you're not taking note of it, what it is, why are you really frustrated, why you're moving around
Yeah.
and you're just not happy. And if we pay attention to that and what you're talking about, because I am very, very particular about my energy level. And I know definitely when it dips because of certain triggers and circumstances, and I bring it back. And even if I have to call Terry and vent within that hour or so, and I'm venting and I'm hearing the truth, and I deal like Terry and say, maybe pain, but I know when that pain goes, I'm good.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Yes.
Right?
you
Yes.
suffer. If you don't deal
So,
with
Yes.
it,
and
you
but
suffer.
you have to be aware, and you have to be willing to share and release. And to release, you do it in different ways. For me to release, I am very grateful for the friends who are honest, and I could call and I release, and they understand me. And it's not support I'm looking for, it's not a pat on my back. It's to just get rid of that, right? And it makes me feel good. But also, we have to be aware of the reverse, because you have friends or family members could drain that energy in a way that when you finish, you more drained, or when they finish with you, you're more drained. So it's a consciousness of the things that may drain that energy. And when, as we get older, I have found that we want all the things that made the responsibility we didn't take then, and some of the decisions that we have made that may have us in a certain negative situation, we feel we could pass it off on others. You're not taking action, and you hiding behind the age. You understand the
Yeah,
age or the illness or whatever it is at the time, and you're putting it on to others. And that is where, and I'm happy you said that, Maureen, that is where we now, you have to be aware when placed in a situation like that, not allowing that to get to us in such a way that we are taking on their problems. And we carrying with us, which affecting us now from being happy and joyous. So by the time you get home, you feel that heavy weight. And you start to think, oh gosh, I shouldn't say that, because you may not have said something because you don't want to hurt the person feeling, because they may be old, they may be sick, they may be this, they may be that. And you're not as blunt as Terrian. You understand? So
correct.
sometimes we have to take a bit of that
Direct,
Terrian.
direct.
Well, sorry,
Uh, uh,
I'm not sure of the difference in the meaning, but yeah,
Yes, son.
but yeah, we have to. It requires us to do that, to maintain our peace, to maintain that energy, because we love ourselves. We have to love ourselves. And by doing that, we love them. We love them, and we letting them know we love them. But listen, you can't put that on us. You know, you can't put that on us. You have to put things in place, because you're not thinking of our happiness. Because at the end of the day, whatever decision, and don't have to be debt, as you know, it could be a decision to go in a home. It could be a decision to downsize. It could be a decision thing, because you're holding on to a whole set of things here that doesn't make sense. And you mention it. You have a huge property or something. We need money to help you with that, but you don't want to sell anything, or you don't want to rent out, or you don't you don't want nobody come in your house to help, but you're dependent on whoever there to take up that burden, because you don't want anybody to help. So we have to make some very tough decisions to protect us. So we must understand this is how we want to live. This is what will affect us. And we have to put things in place. We have to make choices to release. And as you say, it may not be release things in the house, as you see a mindset. We really need to do that introspection, understand who we are. And if we have to make that shift and change in, I would say change. I'm very proud of myself now.
yeah,
Things I used to get involved in and always feel, and Terry would say that, always feel I could stretch out my hand and help in some way. Hold your hand to cross that river. Man, I'm telling you, I make that choice. Am I going to do that? Is that costing me? What does it cost me? And it's not dollars and cents. I'm talking about emotion, my
yeah,
emotion,
yeah,
my
yeah.
state of mind. Am I going, when you leave now, I lie down and I can't sleep?
Or they
I
pull
had a
you in the river and drown you, and they step
yeah,
on you and come out.
and we have to be aware the situations, things used to be do before. People would call me and always feel they could ask me all kind of things, and I busy because I feel it will help. I feel my calling is to help you shift. And I realized that maybe it was then, but it's no longer like that. I don't have that energy level. I don't have that width band. It's for me, everything now. I will support, but only if it's not taken away from my energy. So Yes,
Yeah.
we have to be aware of that. We maybe like was like that before in the workplace thing, but now don't put that burden on me again. And we shouldn't be
I not
afraid
putting
to
it on
let
myself.
that person, yeah, we
Yeah.
should not be afraid to let whoever it is know that, hey, you're putting a burden on me.
Yeah.
I will help you sort yourself out if I can, but don't look at me to do that for you. Yeah,
You know, nature abhors a vacuum, and I don't think people understand what that is. And for those who are weak, and being weak
yeah,
is not a bad thing. For those who are compassionate and who feel that, oh gosh, you can't walk away because it might, we might talk about what you have to give up, what you have to stop. Um, if we know, what do we need to make room for? Just leave everything where it is. If the body don't want to organize their affairs, if you're not affected by the confusion and the consequence, unless you want a piece of the action, then you have a investment in getting the thing resolved. But if you divest yourself of that desire and you sit and say, what do I want to make room for in my life? I want to make room for music. I want to make room for art. I want to make room for plants. I want to make room for
yeah,
genuine friends. I want to make room for all this. Then leave everything as it is. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. If you start making room for the things that you want to go to, all of a sudden that will occupy so much of your time and your
yeah,
life that is going to stay there. And if it doesn't belong to you, why are you taking it up in your 60s and 70s and 80s? It doesn't belong to me. It's not my confusion. It's not my things. Why are you taking it up? And if you have a lot of things that you cherish, well, leave it there. They're gonna have a big garage
Garage sale.
sale, or they do like I did with when our family house was empty. I tell some cousins, bring a truck and take what you want. I sit down in a corner and watch them take what they want. It didn't matter to me. It was so normal. I think we sometimes just need to. It is hard to cut and to give up and to change lifelong habits, but we have dreams. We know what we would like to do now. So if we put more time and attention and make room and space in our lives for the things that we want, leave everything as it is, leave the status quo as it is. If you in the bacchanal, well, you in the bacchanal. Take yourself out of the bacchanal, make room for what you want, what you desire, what you crave, what you get pleasure from. And then proportionately, that confusion, even though it is there, it affects you a whole lot less. You become a happier
yeah,
person. And
Yeah.
when the consequence happens, well, those who stay in the control will deal with the consequence. The most you can do is say, boy, girl, and you pat them on the back. And you do whatever you have to do to console them in the moment. But I say focus on what do you want to make room for in your life? What do you want to spend time doing? How do you want to live? What's the texture of that life? What mood do you want to be in? If you like to hear nice calming music and somebody blaring the radio hard on something else, go and change the station. Go and change the station or play Mad One day and tell the radio out of the window and just sit down in the quiet and watch everybody. What wrong with that?
Yeah.
We just I think it is a shift of mind that doesn't interfere with the status quo, because the status quo has been building and its foundations are deep. and linked to so many things. But if we just say, what's the environment I want to be in, and just start focusing on building that, I think we'll find our way out of a lot of stress.
I think one of there are a few things as well that came out of that for me, and even looking at life. One of the first things I recognize is that there are times in your life when you have to be fearless rather than fearful. Because a lot of the choices and decisions that I would have made previously were made out of fear and, loss and not having any strengths because you needed the pussy. You needed, right?
Yeah.
You needed that. The second thing that I reflected on is the fact that I'm no longer nurturing grown people. I spent all my life nurturing grown people. And they still did what they wanted anyway, up to and inclusive of death, and I had to bury them with all of my best intentions. So now, when life is so valuable, and it's not timeless. It has an end date, and I don't have the switch that will determine when that end date will come. Why would I be investing in a losing battle kind of thing? And the third thing is that I kind of like say, look, Maureen, you have the right to focus on what you want to focus on, right? And spend less time consuming and more time creating.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because that's what that is, this whole consumption story. And the same is true of, I mean, like I talk to people and everything is instant gratification and an Instagram and a filter and a whatever, but they're not reading. They're illiterate.
It's not real. It's fantasy.
Everything is fantasy, and no literacy either, because nothing is grounded in fact.
Yep.
So I have started reading. I have restarted. When I was teaching at university, I used to read. But of course I stopped. I just kind of flick. And it brought me back to like my father. Every day he would go and walk and buy a newspaper. And buying a newspaper was not only to be in the news, but also to get sunshine, to be outside, to talk to other people, to share with the neighbors, to be able to, strengthen his observation. He was using all of his senses, so, so he could come back, and also that he could narrate. So he had something to narrate and something for our discussion when we met in the afternoons, because he would tell me of his day, and his day was not same old, same old. When you ask people, oh, what you did today? Same old, same old. What is same old, same old? No, man.
Nothing. That's what it is. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Nothing. I did nothing.
I was afraid to say that, Terry, and why am I sure that it was coming from you? I was hitting the same old, and sticking with that story. But it's nothing. You're correct. Yeah? Or if it's something, it's nothing new. So obviously it's nothing to share. And these are the kinds of things that I made up my mind that, look, I'm giving up. And it's not a question of losing. I want people to recognize that too. We're not talking about losing, we're talking about winning. Because you're creating space and opportunity for growth and development, and you're challenging yourself to even experience things that you never experienced before. But thank God, you are given the opportunity and you still have your faculties, so you are able to engage in them in a meaningful way that they bring you joy.
Yep. Definitely. A lot of people distract themselves from themselves.
Correct.
By focusing on other people and other things. And that can only be temporary, because all the people have to go home and leave you.
Correct.
All the things you're busy distracting yourself from yourself by getting involved in other people's lives, they will go home. The discussion is going to end. And then you have to come back. And then you come back to that reflect, that silence. The jumbies can't be bubbling up. Exorcise the jumbies and let your dreams come forward. And then start doing things to build that life. So that when the people come the next day with the worries and the this and the that and the other, you're so busy creating and doing something new. And that energy is like, oh, that happened, but this, let me tell you what I do in here. And
Correct.
it will shrink. It's like you're dealing with a tumor. You put the chemo and shrink the tumor,
Yeah.
shrink it, and have something else build in its place. It's a cure for addiction. You give up alcohol, but if you don't have something else to replace it, whatever you were addicted to, if you do not have something to replace it, you're going right back there. So it is wanting to focus on, I have to fix this. Babe, that is not your problem. What you're investing a million set of energy into it for, find something that is going to bring you joy, bring you happiness. Invest in that. The person who owns the problem, they'll deal with it. It's not yours. You know?
Yeah.
So,
So
But
having
but
said that, oh, sorry, go ahead,
hmm,
Jennifer.
no, I'm just saying that's an exercise many of us should get involved in that when we do workshops sometimes and we ask people, you know, what are your plans when you leave that workplace? What do you do? And they will come up with one answer. We go on vacation. It's always like your whole retirement, you're on vacation. Others may say, I won't do anything, I don't want to do anything again. But nothing comes out that would be meaningful to their lives. You know, it seemed to be very difficult to shift that mindset to know what it is would you really would like to do. Like they can't think of, like they have no skills other than what they were doing in the workplace. They think of, oh, we may go back to work, we may do something. But anything that you're talking about, being relaxed, things that will bring you joy, no, it doesn't come out. So it says to me, there is a need for many people, very when they out of that. I would say by the time they hit the 60s, should really look seriously, ask yourself that question. What will make us happy? How are we going to enjoy this stage in our lives? What do we have to release? Or who do we have to release?
Hmm.
What are the as you mentioned earlier, Maureen, when we were discussing this topic, what are the narratives? What narratives are in your head? What you keep telling yourself you cannot do, or you should do, or you're feeling ashamed of. And if we do that and then mention introspection or reflection, if we are being honest and do that, I think it will really help us to find that happy part
Yeah.
or that joyful part. So that's what I would see on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we were discussing, maybe now we could speak to stepping into our greatness. What are we doing to afford us the opportunity to step into our greatness?
Well, that's an easy answer for me. I already stepped into my greatness. I have examined, I'm really in a happy stage doing the things I am embraced, whatever skills, talents, newfound skills. Um, and I'm good at that. So I would say yes. What is my greatness? Just being able to enjoy life and doing all the things. I think this is great for me, doing all the things that I wanted to do and doing, and I still seem whatever comes my way and I feel make me happy, I do it. So I am finding joy in my life right now and I'm happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Maureen, we step into our greatness next once we know that we're happy. And I think that is a great way to segue this discussion into our next meetup.
I agree. Yeah, the conversation
Yeah.
should be illuminating. Yes,
Exactly. Because
yes.
if we have reflected and thought about happiness, appreciation, and joy, and the things that we stopped doing, and those that we now engage in to achieve the same, and you've gotten three very different but still complementary and relevant perspectives on happiness. So, if we're happy and we are happy beings and happy souls, then the next thing is to step out into that world of happiness, which is going to reveal nothing else but our greatness. And it is something that people are not comfortable associating themselves with. So we will meet up next Wednesday to talk about
Gotcha.
how we step into our greatness.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And
Indeed.
people have time to think about it, to think and also to bring the best A game forward so that we could all learn from each other. Because
Yeah.
those rooms that room is a very interesting room. It brings a lot of ideas and it kind of catapults some people in places where they're not comfortable, but it's also a safe space so people
Yeah.
benefit and some of us have kept on coming. So we'd like more of you to join us in those hallowed halls.
Definitely. So this is it for us at 5.8G Live, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at our meetup, where we will be knowing how great we are and things that we are doing to step into that greatness.
Greatness.
Yeah.
Correct.
So take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
50 Plus Tribe and followers from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.